So today we are going to be talking about Brooke. Now, these two chapters, 1183 and 1184, have been so eye-opening about this character, and we are unfortunately or fortunately going into a backstory of this. Fortunately, because we get to learn a little bit more about the time before Roger. Unfortunately, however, this seems to be one of the most tragic backstories ever, because Shuri appears to be what Harold would have become if Harold did not kill himself at the point where he was starting to get control by Emu. But anyway, we're going to talk about Brooke here because he has been shown like a legend here. Okay, insane abilities, like out of nowhere, just came out of nowhere and just shocked everyone. Now, there's a thing about Brooke. I don't know if everyone reading One Piece has felt this, but I personally have. Brooke has been a consistently reliable character throughout his entire time with the Straw Hats. He has consistently gone up against one of the strongest peoples in the world and not blinked. Yeah, he makes quips about like being scared about certain things, but when it comes for the time of action, he has not blinked once, right? And that has always kind of kept me off balance about it, because like at sometimes Brooke is portrayed as like this kind of like whimsical character who just like laughs at everything that's going on, but then he just comes out and just like kills people, and it is brutally hard to place him because some of the main characters get more of an attention. That's why Brooke is kind of like very hard to place, has been very hard to place in terms of ranking for me. Like sometimes I want to put him below Frankie, but then sometimes I want to put him above Frankie. He's kind of not in the bottom tier. Again, that same logic can be applied to Chopper as well. Because like Chopper is reliable when it's absolutely necessary. Even in fights, he's reliable when absolutely necessary. But it's that we're talking about Brooke today. So we started the chapter 1183 with Emu basically fighting Loki. So yeah, we basically see that Emu tells Ragnir that, hey, you were waiting all this time for a suitable host for the Nidhogg fruit. And he basically says that since both Nika and Nidhogg won't join him, he's going to kill them just like he did with Dozan, or get rid of them just like he did with Dozan. Now, Dozan is a new character being mentioned. I specifically looked it up because I thought it was a character I was forgetting a name for, but he has a new entry in the One Piece wiki, and basically nothing's there for him. So that might be another character we're going to be looking forward to understanding in the future. But coming back to Brooke, we then move on to Brooke, Usopp, and Jinbei and everyone. They're basically asking Brooke, why the hell did you go after him? And Brooke kind of has noticed the contrast in Shuri's personality, that he has seen a total of 3 different people inside Shuri. So he's seen the Gonko version, he has seen the Emu control version, and he's actually seen the Shuri, Princess Shuri that was there. And he makes note that Shuri was able to actually let go of Brooke when they were constricted with her arrows, which is an interesting thing because it seems that even if you're like fully under Emu's control, there is a chance for you to like you still have your original personality. Your original personality is still there, which is evidenced in Harold, but I didn't know how far deep, because I thought that once you get to a certain level, you just don't come back anymore, or your personality gets erased. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And if devil fruits work on the logic of even then free will to a certain extent, I do not think Emu will have the ability of it. I'm going to get to Emu in a little bit, and I have some theories regarding Luffy. And they could be really interesting depending on how things progress. So coming back to this, we kind of jump By the end of the discussion that Brooke and everyone has, Jinbei says like, "Hey, do we free this person or not?" And then we jump into what seems to be a very tragic backstory that's going to happen, and it's Brooke's backstory when he was part of the kingdom that we knew he was part of. Like, so we know that Brooke was a knight at a kingdom, right? But we didn't know what this was, and honestly, I didn't think that they were going to bring this up, but we were blindsided by this. We kind of just got this information out of nowhere. So I'm glad to see this. So we see that Brooke was actually a knight commander of the kingdom of Esperia. Now, I don't know if I've seen the kingdom of Esperia mentioned anywhere, but this is the first I think I've ever seen this kingdom. And we are introduced to three very important characters over here. We are introduced to the king, Renove, I think, the queen, Candel, and the princess, which is Shuri. And it is great to see new characters being introduced. I feel so bad for what's going to happen because, like, again, history has again been written. We're just seeing it over here. That's the thing with backstories. You kind of you know the result that's going to happen. And so before we do this, we notice Brooke does say that Shuri, the last time he saw Shuri was before he went to Marie Joa, before she went to Marie Joa, and that I really like. The celestial dragons are disgusting enough as is. I really hope like nothing shit happens. It's going to happen, but like it's so annoying. Anyway, so the three characters we're introduced to are Renove, if I'm getting it correct. Let me just double check the name. Reuven, sorry, that's my bad. Reuven. Reuven, Shuri, and Candel. By the way, Candel. Honestly, like we see that Brooke is infatuated by Candel, and honestly, any guy would be, okay? Look at Candel, and you can automatically be like, yeah, any guy would be infatuated by her, right? And we see that they have a very comical dynamic between each other. Brooke is forever fully in love with Candel. Shuri has that childish tendency to look up to that person wanting to marry towards Brooke, which infuriates her father because they think that they want that being said to themselves. Uh, Pretty common comic manga trope. It's not something that's there, but it's very fun to see. But we see that Brooke doesn't. The king thinks that Brooke wants to kill him to get to Candel, but then Brooke's like, no, I'm not gonna. I'm not. I don't plan on killing you. I'm just gonna wait till your natural lifespan gets over, and then I'm gonna marry Candel, which is honestly not bad. And we can see this why he has this feeling towards Reuven, because of the next chapter, which is a really, really messed up chapter. But with a good ending. That chapter has a good ending. I don't know about this entire backstory. And we kind of see that the power Brooke has in this chapter. So this kingdom, the Esperia, they're basically a kingdom of music. Basically, the musical instruments. Basically, seems to be their primary game. But it is also very heavily gang themed. So the king looks very gangsterish, and it's basically kind of like private militia based kind of thing. And we see that the kingdom gets raided by gangs all the time, and the gang that is currently raiding them is basically after going after Candel. Basically, they want Candel. They want to capture or kidnap Candel. So we see that the king is obviously very frustrated. Like he wants to protect his wife, obviously, and he tries to rally people and get people to help save his wife. Brooke seems very unbothered by this, which is hinting up to this. And we see by the end of it that the opera house where the queen is listening to concert, is kind of like surrounded, and as the queen comes out, we see that the entire gang that's trying to kidnap her is trying to get to her, and we see them all getting slashed. All right, now there's story for this slash. All right, it seems that when Brooke and Shuri went out for a walk earlier in the freaking morning, all right, Brooke had already slashed them. It took them that long to realize they were slashed. Dude, that is not like we've seen the three notch slash of Brooks. Okay, it right now at least I don't know what's going on. Like it doesn't take that long. This guy is a monster. This guy is a freaking monster. Holy shit, man! It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It took them like what 3 or 4 hours to realize that they got slashed. Yeah. So here we get an entire description of Brooke, which is he's the master of the quick draw slash, which is what, dude. This guy is a legendary swordsman amongst all legendary swordsmen. Like he is a living legend. That's what he is. I'm sorry, you are just a master of the quick draw slash, which literally cuts people and they don't realize till 45 minutes to 3 hours of them being cut. Are you kidding me? Dude, I'm telling you, there are so many good fighters in One Piece in the Straw Hat crew that do not get enough time. Like my entire world was like, don't get me wrong, I believe Brooke was a powerful fighter. I believe Frankie is a powerful fighter. I believe Chopper is a powerful fighter. But the fact that this kind of level of power is being eclipsed by just Zoro and Sanji. Like, not even Zoro and Sanji, Zoro mostly. Right? The fact that we don't see more of Brooke fighting is just insane to me. It's just insane. Like, I don't know, man. Like, bring out Brooke. Give him some scenes. He is a freaking beast. Anyway. So we see that they get slashed, and that's basically the end of the thing. So then we come to 1184. Now, 1184 kind of shows Shuri, who has grown up a little bit more and is currently following in her footsteps of her mother and Brooke and become a very powerful fighter. But she maintains the fixation on Brooke, that she wants to grow up and marry Brooke. Brooke is still not interested, because why would he? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Brooke is a creep, but like he's not like that level of creep, you know? Like he's not going after. You know what? Let's not get in that. But you understand what I mean. She's still 14, right? But anyway, so we kind of see that he is still infatuated with Candel, which honestly makes a lot of sense by the end of this chapter. And we see that Shuri rejects anybody who wants to court her. And Brooke, because obviously she's still after Brooke. And Brooke is currently the commander of the royal convoy of Esperia. Now, this was a position formerly held by Candel, who is right now the queen of Esperia, at least in the backstory. And because Candel was, we find this out towards the end of the chapter as well, but we see Brooke and Shuri just singing, and we go back into Brooke's childhood, which honestly I feel like so bad about, because can one of the gods not have a traumatic childhood? Like, holy shit, dude. Like, Robin's childhood was shit. Nami's childhood was shit. Sanji's childhood was also shit. Both of them, like, he he only was able to survive because of Zeph. Um, what Chopper's childhood was shit too. Luffy's childhood, like it wasn't complete shit, but it was some level of shit. I mean, like he did lose Sub over there, um, but so it wasn't complete shit. Well, Frankie's was absolutely shit. It's just insane how many of the Straw Hats' childhoods were just absolute shit. But we anyway come to Brooks' childhood. It seems like he grew up loving instruments. But he was poor, so he couldn't make instruments. And he grew up true to his story. He grew up loving music. He grew up understanding uh, how music could change people's lives, and he grew up loving them. He made his own, even though he was poor, he made his own instruments out of things and made up his own lyrics. And we see that Reuven, who was the prince of Hesperia, basically gets saved by Brooke in one case, and then literally uh, falling literally, that's the wrong way to put it, but basically coming to care about this kid so much that he eventually just ends up adopting him. So we see that Reuven gets saved by Brooke and then spends a bunch of time with Brooke without disclosing his identity. And eventually it comes to a point where he basically, Brooke is trying to make food out of like the scraps that he's getting. And the one thing that he thinks is great is the curry powder that the Navy, he basically steals from the Navy because he just doesn't have the money for it. And he thinks that it makes everything taste good because like it sort of does, but like but you can see in Reuven's face that it's not the high class dishes that he's used to. But he then eventually gets captured for stealing gunpowder by some corrupt Navy officials. When all he did was steal curry powder, and someone else probably reported him for such things, and he gets beat up. I don't know why the Navy is bent on beating up kids. Like, why are you beating up kids? Oh my god, dude, you are grown ass adults. Literally in groups beating up kids. Who are you? Who the heck are you? Oh my god, dude. Anyway, they beat up kids, and then Reuven comes in and beats them up rightfully so, alongside Candel, and saves Brooke. And because he does this, he kind of like becomes sort of like a rebel to the government, because in the end, the Navy, even if they're like these corrupt officials, I don't think the Navy cares about, the Marines care about like corrupt officials. They just care about people hurting them. I think this is gonna bite them back in the future. Like actions like these are gonna bite them back in the future of this backstory. They save Brooke, but Candle does inform and kind of like sort of give a hint to what's going to happen towards the end of this, where she says that, hey, she's basically right now the current, at that point of time, she was the current first officer, commanding officer of the convoy of Hesperia. And she tells Reuven that you have to be mindful of your position, because you are a prince and you're going to be the king eventually. So you have to be mindful of your position before you take action. But Reuven is very similar to most of our One Piece characters, where they are very headstrong and do not look away from justice. So he basically says that I don't want to live in a world where this is not there. And at this point, we see Brooke wake up and meet Candel, and this is where his infatuation begins. She is the person that eventually saved him, even though Reuven was there. She is basically the person that saved him as well. So this is where the infatuation begins. And this is also why I think Brooke is not looking forward to killing Reuven, because Reuven is the person who saved him as well. So even though he's infatuated with Candel, he's not so crass as to spit on the plate that he ate from Reuven, because Reuven at the end of the chapter does take Brooke under his wing and gives him the life that he yearned for, both through the music that he wanted to make, as well as just made his life better. I am honestly a little sad to see this story progress because I know what's going to happen at the end, which brings me to an important point. Now, there is a chance, now that we've seen a lot of Luffy's, Imu's abilities and the fact that it's related to Dominion, and the fact that Shuri is there, we might be seeing a pivot to the Nika side of things, because Luffy's ability is liberation, whereas Imu's ability seems to be of dominion. So there is a small chance that we get to see, because Shuri is right now in. I'm pretty sure Brooke is not going to kill Shuri over here. He's going to take them with her, but we might see a reversing of a full-on contract by Imu, which is going to be so great because we have not seen that, and I think Luffy is the key. He should have an ability very similar to very similar to Imu, that allows you to liberate those under contract, which would be an insane thing because that would just flip the script. Now we have a power that can liberate something that has been the bane of all existence, and that could eventually lead to Loki joining his group because he wants to see lesser victims like his father. Like, he wants to make sure that Luffy always uses his power for that specific purpose. And it would be insane to see that happen because I really want Shuri to be freed from this. When Gonko was released, I'm like, this character is joining our side. Like, Oda will not put so much character detail on a character that he does not plan on using. So she was either going to be a good character or a bad character, but she was going to be a character on one side. And the way she was drawn, it felt like she was going to turn into a good character. It's just some things that I just noticed, right? But it just felt like I didn't, by just looking at the character design, I didn't want to be rooting against her, right? I don't know how other people felt about it, but I personally did not want to be rooting against her. It seemed like she when she was talking as well, the very few times she did, her speech was limited to the point where you were not infuriated by her. The few times she did talk, it was like she was acting off of orders instead of like pure malice. And there were like few instances which convoluted that, but it wasn't as much as like Killingham or Summers maybe. But yeah, that's about it for me today. 11, looking forward to 1185. I don't know if I am looking forward to it because 1185 is going to break my heart. The next few chapters are going to break my heart. I'm going to be crying a lot. But that's basically it. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, consider leaving a like down below and subscribe to the channel. I've been Korogami. I'll see you guys in the next one.